It's my privilege to acknowledge that we are meeting on Kaurna land today, the traditional lands of the Kaurna people, which is the Greater Adelaide Plains. But here we are at the meeting of our two rivers, North and South Para, to make the Gawler River, Paridla to Wandi. I think I have that right, Beck.
Paridla to Condi, I think.
Paridla
There's
to
a K in there,
Condi.
Yeah.
Yes. So I need to learn a lot around that, but at least I had a crack, which I'm really pleased about. Hi everyone, it's Karen Redman, the Mayor of the town of Gawler here today, and it's my privilege to welcome Rebecca Kimlin, who is a local Aboriginal woman, leader in our community and all-round beautiful girl, but also chair of our Reconciliation Action Plan working group, and you're on a range of committees locally, aren't you, Beck? And of course today is a really special event commemorating 1992, the Mabo decision, Eddie Mabo.
Yes.
I thought I'd make mention of that significance today.
Yeah.
But basically we're here just to chat about reconciliation and anything you'd like to talk about, not only to myself as Mayor, but to anyone who might be listening.
Sure.
And, the importance of reconciliation and I guess today's event and how Gawler can be part of that going forward.
Yeah. So today's actually officially the last day of Reconciliation Week. So and it's called Mabo Day, the 3rd of June, and that's where the High Court basically gave back. It was a native title case, and basically gave back the land to Eddie Mabo and his family in the Torres Strait Islands. It was the first ever case to go through the High Court, so and to win. So it was a movement that has been able to allow other First Nations to apply for native title as well for their lands and access to their lands. So that's why today is an important day. The first day of actual Reconciliation Week is the 27th of May, and that is the 1967 referendum to commemorate that, and that was the overwhelming yes vote for Aboriginal people and Torres Strait Islander people to be counted in the census. That really moved the traction forward for Aboriginal rights overall in Australia. So
I mean, that was quite some time ago now, 1967. And 1992, I remember I was a lot younger then, but I remember it all over the news. And I remember thinking, as I was preparing for a chat with you today, I was thinking, how did I feel as a non-Aboriginal person? And I just remember thinking about this man he died. He didn't get to hear that decision, but 10 years of advocating, and every time I heard him speak, they had recordings of him speaking, and I just couldn't help thinking this man had such an incredible vision and didn't give up. And I remember feeling quite moved, even though I had no connection really with it. That was the first time I'd really heard about it. But it did move me as I guess a non-Aboriginal person, but somebody who cared about that and thought, why haven't we done it before? But just that energy and level of commitment, and it did inspire me a bit. Not that I'm particularly active in Aboriginal movement, but I do feel very strongly about equality and, removing racism from our community, which is an ongoing conversation that we need to have.
Yes.
So I thought I'd just share that with you because it was a reflection that was quite powerful for me as somebody observing.
Yeah. I don't actually really remember it because I was probably 10 years old at the time, but just through study and education and sitting around listening to people, you learn about how important it is and how still it's important today, and that's why Reconciliation Week happens every week. And also on the native title chat, we are actually sitting at the river junction.
We are.
Which is significant to the Kaurna people, Paridla to Condi.
Yes.
So which is a really special place for particularly Kaurna, but Paramank and Ngadjuri would meet here too, trade, ceremony, do all those sorts of things along the river, which is really nice that we're meeting here today.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's a special place, and it has a lot of spirituality around this place, and it is an area that certainly, as a council, I'd be very keen to, I guess, celebrate a bit more, without destroying the area. I mean, it's really important that we understand the importance of the area, understand the natural convergence of two rivers, the North and South Para, to form the Gawler River. But even the word para is still there in our and
people probably don't know that means river or water. So it is good that it's slipped its way in there, and people have not really realised. And now it's celebrated, of course.
And I think that's a journey that we've been on, but there's still a lot to do. Gawler Council has a reconciliation action plan, and you've been heavily involved in the implementation of that. Not many councils have a reconciliation action plan. What do you see as the significance of a plan like that for our council?
I see a few things. One, it puts Aboriginal and Torres Strait, mainly Aboriginal because where we are, and Torres Strait Islander issues in the forefront of when you're doing council business. So that's always something that we need to consider on all levels. Where we put our roads, how we want to promote certain areas, what sort of business we want to do and who we want to do the business with, those sorts of things. But it also talks about the council as well in terms of providing a culturally safe workplace for Aboriginal people, ensuring that the workers are culturally aware and are providing a safe service themselves and are respectful. And opening, like you said before, opening the dialogue about things like the things that happen during reconciliation, but happen all the time around Aboriginal history, acknowledging trauma, and moving forward as a community. So the RAP really is an action plan, obviously, that sets forth how we plan to work together into the future.
And that's right, and I'm one of the internal champions of that plan, and I think there's still lots of work to be done through that action plan, but it is an evolving document, and I think it's something we refer to. Certainly it isn't just about, as you said, it isn't just about Reconciliation Week or NAIDOC Week. It's about how we live our lives and immersing and having that intertwined in our lives all the time, so that we are more welcoming. We recognise if we're inadvertently racist, or hopefully not deliberately racist, but understanding that the stuff that people talk about, privilege, white privilege, which is a difficult concept for some people to understand, but it is very much there. Now, I'm not sure if you want to talk about this, but my nephew's African American, so we've been watching the events in the US with great concern, but I know it triggers similar concern here with Aboriginal people. Do you want to talk a little bit about how much more work we need to do in that regard of understanding how we treat Aboriginal people, perhaps, or how we could improve in that regard? Yeah.
What's happening in America is very sad and very triggering for Aboriginal people here in Australia, because we have a very similar narrative. I was only just reading last night, I think it's 400 people, Aboriginal people or Torres Strait Islander people, have died in custody.
I saw that.
And there have been no convictions. And that sits with people, and that it's the framework or the fabric of our lives, unfortunately. And so seeing this movement in the world arena does, like I said, it does trigger trauma, because it's an intergenerational trauma. It's passed on, and there's lots of things that prove that when we're born, even though we might not be directly affected by that, but we carry what has happened to our ancestors. So it's an important message to the world, It's something like we keep talking about, opening dialogue, having this yarn. These things are important, that we start to understand each other and where we're coming from. And the only way that we are ever going to stop those systems from having that effect on people who are in minorities is by having Aboriginal allies like yourself, like the council, or people within the council who are very, very passionate about that.
It's all happening.
Real time.
Trains are working.
What was I saying? So yeah,
Having that dialogue.
It brings that dialogue.
Having these yarns, not being afraid to talk about it, and just
absolutely.
sort of gain a greater understanding. Because my understanding is not your understanding. My background is not your background. But we can all learn. And I think reconciliation is about that. Learning together, isn't it?
Yes.
And if we can do that, surely we become more welcoming. Surely people feel safe.
Yeah.
And if you feel welcomed, surely you are able to do anything. If you, in my humble view, everyone has the capacity to do whatever it is they want to do. But if they're stopped from doing that, or if they don't feel safe, if they feel they're not welcome or they're discriminated against, well, they're not going to enter into that, are they?
Yeah, that's right. And the important thing, I guess, for Aboriginal people, and I'm sure Indigenous people across the world would feel the same way, is, and this is a particular strong movement within the reconciliation world as well, is truth-telling. Like getting people to acknowledge what really happened in Australia, teach it in the schools. Have those days in your workplace where you're having those hard and difficult conversations, inviting Aboriginal people to be a part of them, but also understanding that not always we want to be a part of those conversations because of trauma, and really holding the space for Aboriginal people to explore their healing and taking that journey together. That's what reconciliation is really about.
So, how can we improve, do you think? Where would you like to see some of, I guess, a wish list of, and I've had a bit of a look at the reconciliation plan and thought, there's real opportunity in there for some, moving forward, but that's my ideas. What are your ideas?
Oh, I've got so many.
I know you do. Here's your opportunity.
So talking with having that dialogue with Kaurna people about significant sites, whether they're sacred or not, and if they can be shared, that's great. But if they can't, knowing what they are, maybe not knowing the details of the significance, but understanding that they need to be protected and maintained for Kaurna people in some way or another. So that's probably one of the first things that I would like to, that I personally would think would be great. Also, in terms of language, like we are so lucky to have Jack Buckskin at our fingertips.
I know, and he's so gracious and generous.
Yes. Intertwining language into our community, bringing it back to the forefront, and really inspiring people with that knowledge of Kaurna language is, it's there. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. And he's such a great teacher, and like I said, he's there, and he's willing to have those conversations. So that's about language. In terms of Aboriginal issues that continue to happen, I think that the council is good at doing this, but we can always be better. And that is by engaging with Aboriginal communities before change happens. So, if it impacts on young people, that we ensure that Aboriginal young people are being, that we're listening to how they feel about the community that they live in. and the identity that they have as a Gawler person, as well as an Aboriginal person. And as well as the leaders that live in our community. And in Gawler, we actually have a quite diverse Aboriginal community. People might think we're all Ghana, we're actually not. I'm an Arundel woman. I know there's quite a few people actually here from Alice Springs. We're taking over. But there's also people who are Ngarrindjeri, Narunga, from all over Australia, and they choose to live here in Gawler, and I think that speaks volumes.
It does.
Yeah.
I'm really pleased to hear that.
Yeah.
I've heard it before.
Yeah.
Aboriginal people feel welcome. Now, as you said, there's always more we can do, and there's always I call it critical analysis, reflecting on, okay, did we do that well, or could we have done that better, or have we followed those respectful steps?
Yeah.
Listening and respecting culture.
Yeah.
And understanding that that's not my culture, but I want to know about it.
Yeah.
I want to share in some of that beauty if I can,
Yeah.
And that's probably a bit selfish, but I think it's a desire to learn.
Yeah.
And I think many people are like that. And the more we get that message out to say this is something to celebrate and something to treasure, I say this, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, but I do have a lot of women that I know from my role in health, Aboriginal women, and I've said, don't come to Adelaide, you're too important. You can't get COVID-19. You're just too important. Yeah. You're just too important. We can't lose you. And so we've done a lot of work around that, around health. But it is something that the culture and understanding just how lucky we are to be speaking with someone such as yourself and learning about not only the beautiful culture that is Aboriginal culture, but the diversity that sits under that, which you just mentioned before, with different language groups and different backgrounds, different tribes. That there's so much that we can learn, and I hope we'll learn over time. Yeah. So I think we might wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming along. The weather's been really kind. It is a beautiful day here, and it's an absolutely stunning spot. Very important spot for Aboriginal people, Kaurna people, and also Gawler people, I think, going forward. So thank you. Have a great day, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed our yarn today, and see you next week.
Nakara.